Previously on VEDS.
Is this really warranting of a previously on?
Yes!
Okay, what did I say? So there is Maui. Let's talk more about him tomorrow. It's him and the eel. Come on back then.
Fine, I guess I will do.
Yesterday we did an overview of Maui's greatest feats as a hero, but I skimmed over one of the more bizarre ones. The myth that gives us the origin for the coconut and a pretty sweet battle. Maui versus the eel. Now, I found a bunch of wildly different versions of this story, but for the most part I'm basing my retelling off of two versions. Maui versus Kuna and Cinny and the eel. Below in the doobly-doo, I will link two videos that tell each of the versions of the story. But first, let's talk a little bit about why there are so many variations to oceanic mythology. The ocean is big. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that these myths had the greatest reach geographically of any other, because, again, the ocean is big. Each island or set of islands seems to have their own variations upon this myth, with Hawaii's talking about specific geography, or other islands just not having Maui in the myth at all. So here are the big differences. The eel is either a dragon, god, or king who shapeshifted into an eel, but in all versions they are interested in a woman. That woman is either Hina or Cinny and is sometimes Maui's wife, and sometimes his mother, and sometimes has no relation at all. There are varying levels of consent displayed by the women in the myths, and the biggest difference probably is that in one version I found the eel doesn't die from a battle, but just kind of dies of sadness or loss of magic or something. But here's the general gist. I'm going to use the name Kuna for the eel because that's the one I've seen around the most, and I'm going to stick closest to the Hawaiian version because that's the one I have the most familiarity with. Kuna the eel sees a woman. She's incredibly beautiful, the most beautiful he's ever seen. Her hair is dark and long, her eyes are kind, and he swims over to her and begins to speak with her. She's very polite. They talk all night with him swimming above the surface of the water, but as he falls more and more deeply in love with her, his love turns to lust. He makes several advances, but she denies him every time. Angry, Kuna decides that if he cannot have the woman, then he shall destroy her. But before he can do so, she calls out for Maui, and Maui sails from his island to come and attack the eel. Kuna, realizing that he couldn't survive a face-to-face with Maui, hides under the water where Maui can't reach him. Maui builds a fire and throws down flaming logs, which cause Kuna to flee down the river. Kuna's flight ends at the edge of a waterfall, when he finally turns to face Maui. The ensuing fight is great, with Maui using his great club and Kuna lashing out violently. At different points, each combatant seems to have the upper hand, but the fight ends with a brutal swing from Maui's club that sends Kuna off the edge of the waterfall and crashing into the rough waters below. After this, Kuna's head is buried, but from the grave, a strange tree grows, and from that, strange fruit grow. This is where we get the coconut, and if you look at it, you will see 3 holes, 2 eyes and a mouth, just like on the face of an eel, or a dragon, or a man who turned himself into an eel. Like I said, a lot of different variations, but personally for me, each variation just makes the story more and more interesting and shows how rich and complex oceanic mythology can be. I'll see you tomorrow, VEDS. May our stories outlive us all.